Oh man, I can't believe it. It's been too long. Can we get this thing started? Can we? Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
Hello, hello. My lord, that's a little hot. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is January 15th, 2026. And we're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing out there, chat room? Hello, hello. It is so good to see you. Only a few folks are here. Right over here. How you doing there? Smirking Squiggly and Billy Cool. How's it going? Good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I took a little bit of time off. Hey, Nate Palm, thank you so much.
Napalm Codes just resubscribed for 41 months. Welcome back at Sharp Fritz. Happy 2026.
Happy
Hope
2026.
you had a good holiday.
It was, to be fair, I was away for bereavement. My wife's grandmother had passed, and we had to travel to Florida. We were there for a week, and we took the weekend after the funeral, and we decided to visit Disney before coming back home, and it was a nice visit. It was a nice visit. We had a good time visiting, seeing family, and then taking a little bit of time to unwind and go to Disney, and I might have gotten a hat or two from what's it called, Pirates of the Caribbean. I think this one just fits our stream very, very nicely here. So I'll just dial in the hat check so you can see what it says about this one. There we go. Yeah, small group to get things started. It'll open up here. Smirking Squiggly with the reset.
Smirking_Squiggly just resubscribed. For 33 months. For 33 months the stream has compiled a long-running task, both
Morale
steady and
patch hat
styled.
confirmed.
In the chat, async laughter flows free, while Fritz debugs life with a calm IDE.
Thank you so much for the poem. Smirking Squiggly, that's fantastic. Guillermo is here from Majorca. The map is up and running. There you go. It is, the Skull and Cross Swords logo. The morale patch hat confirmed. How you doing there, Digital Drummer Jay? So, I did get to visit Disney for a little bit. I saw our friend Fierce Kittens while I was at Disney. So good to catch up with her and spend time. It was the first time that Fierce Kittens met Mrs. C Sharp Fritz. So that was great to see two creators. My wife is very into fiber crafts. I guess that's what we call that now. Fiber crafts. And to hear those two chat about their common interest was great. So happy for them. I spent some time taking a look and getting involved with a couple other projects, and with a couple of our projects and pushing them forward, nudging them forward. I didn't do anything additional for Tamil or CodeMedic, and I want to talk about those today a little bit. I did spend time working on Neon Link. I'm getting to a very good place with Neon Link where we're going to be able to open this up and let folks use it. And there's a little bit of an urgency for Neon Link. Neon Link is an application that I built that allows me to have live streaming overlays when I give live presentations in person. I've got a number of events coming up, and I want to make sure that Neon Link is in tip-top shape from things that I learned when we used it at Tech Bash, and it didn't work. We had a problem with it there. And at VS Live in Orlando in November. So I've got a handful of things that have been coming into there, including a dedicated client. So the idea that I've been building is Neon Link is going to be able to do overlays, just like we have here on this video, but on the large screen at in-person events, complete with lower third questions, a little QR code in the corner, an interactive website that you can go to get resources about the sessions that I'm presenting. I've built a dedicated client, so I don't need to run OBS and have a second and third machine around to produce and deliver all that content. I'm going to be getting that ready. The next time that that's going to go out is in February, first week of February in Stockholm, Sweden, at the Svitog conference with our friends Coding After Work. Jimmy and Jessica Engstrom host that event. Stacy Clouds will be there, and it'll be a fantastic time. I'm also trying to get Neon Link to the point where other speakers can start using it, so it's not just limited to me. Almost there with that. I did some more updates on my tag along the way, and there's a few things that just aren't right with that yet, and it's not ready to publish. And there's been some shuffling at work, some folks that have moved around to different departments, and I'm now working in a slightly different group, not too different where I was before, but doing the exact same things. Nothing's going to change in my job or what I'm working on, just working for a different manager. And the Blazor web form components are very much back, and something that our team is very interested in looking at. And I spent some time over the last few days looking at them, getting them updated for .NET 10, getting them tweaked and tuned and improved. And I think we're near a place that we can talk about and do more with those again.
Nellian just resubscribed for 30 months.
30 months. Thank you so much for the resub. Really appreciate that. How you doing out there, friend? Really appreciate bringing that Prime subscription. Let me get some music playing in the background here, and we'll talk a little bit more about... Where did my mouse go? There it went. We'll talk a little bit more about what I was doing with the Blazor web form components, and then we'll dive into this. I'm going to play the Stream Beats EDM playlist here. Let's start here to start. This is called Free Cells. See, it says it right there. This is music that's DMCA free. It's royalty free. Use it wherever you'd like. YouTube, Twitch, doesn't matter. Wherever you want to play and listen to music online, it is free for anybody to use. Check it out. There's all kinds of genres available at streambeats.com. Big thanks to Harris Heller and his team for creating this music we're listening to today. But I did mention that I shifted groups a little bit, and I'm sure you've seen, and dear Lord, it's hard to miss. Microsoft has a very dedicated goal to promote and show all the cool AI things that are out there. And something that I wanted to make sure that I set straight with the folks that I'm going to be working with is that, yes, I will absolutely, because that's the company goal, I will absolutely show and demonstrate AI things. However, I'm not going to do the cheap and lame just throw a text box
Robert
on it.
Tables just
Robert Tables is
resubscribed
here.
for 53 months.
Ooh,
Getting
look
close
at that.
to a half decade over here.
Oh, my friend. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. In fact, next month we'll be celebrating 7 years. 7 years? Yes, 7 years as a partner on Twitch. Oh, I'm so excited. So, let me finish that little comment that I was saying there. It's important to me that if I'm going to show off AI features, that they're
Sharp Josh just resubscribed for 68 months.
Not just the plain text box. Hey, ask a question about a thing here. That's not inventive. That's not using the technology to its fullest. Let's get into this. Let's do something that actually delivers value besides just, here's a text box. What would you like to do? No, we want to do more about that. C# Josh, thank you so much for the Prime resub. 68 months with us. Robert Tables. Josh is a little bit up there. We are getting old. That's right, Napalm. How you doing there? Digital Drummer Jay says, thank you for the Copilot CLI on stream right before Christmas. Didn't know about it before that. I've been using it a bunch and even wrote a talk on it. Phenomenal. So what Digital Drummer Jay is talking about is, of course, Unlike many of the other AI tools that are out there, Copilot is a multi-model tool, right? You can use it in Visual Studio Code, and at the command line, and it uses and has available to it all the models from all the other things that are out there. You're not confined to just OpenAI models or the Anthropic Claude models and so on and so forth. They're all available. Gemini is in there. You can even bring your own and use them too. So that's really cool and flexible. And because you can run the Copilot CLI at the command line, start up things like tmux and run several of them at the same time. Now, if you're running Copilot with several of them at the same time, you are being charged for them. However, there are some models that cost more than others. Some models are completely free. So it might make sense to try to use several panels, right, inside of a terminal emulator like tmux and run, or Windows Terminal will do this also, and run several copilots to do several different parallel tasks and then bring them back together with a more sophisticated model. There's all kinds of ways to do this. I'm getting in and experimenting and learning more about it. We'll talk through and do some more about that. Let's download some RAM. Billy. The RAM prices are a little crazy right now, aren't they? And I see people complaining, well, if you want to use an AI, there was an advertisement for an AI hat for a Raspberry Pi. And the AI hat had 8 gig of RAM. And somebody was saying, gosh, 8 gig, that's nothing. You really need like 80 gig. Like, hang on. First off, you're on a Raspberry Pi. You spent less than $100, maybe $120 American, on a deck of card size computer. And you want to put 80 gig of RAM into an AI dedicated processor that runs on this. You realize that's like 10x the cost of the rest of the computer. Like, so, yeah, balancing expectations there. Yes, a little. RAM prices are not just RAM prices, but hardware prices are a little crazy right now, as this this land rush for AI supremacy is happening, and I firmly believe there will be a tipping point that we get to, and folks are going to peel off a little bit. Hey, how you doing there, Haliatus Vocifer? Paying for Copilot Premium for coding saved you a lot of wastage. So you have Copilot for coding and other related tasks, and ChatGPT for personal stuff. Here's the thing. If you have a Microsoft 365 account, you have Microsoft Copilot, which is the same as ChatGPT, and it integrates with all your apps. Now, it is a separate Copilot from GitHub Copilot, but it has the same interactions and things that are available. So you don't need to pay for another subscription to get ChatGPT. So Google automatically gave you Gemini Pro because you're on Google Home Premium. Okay, there you go. That's same type thing. Yep, if you're on Google Home Premium, they throw in the AI. Same thing that Microsoft does with the Office apps, 365. All these companies are putting in purchase orders for all the RAM, knowing they only need 1 or 2 of them. They get that one and cancel the rest, inflating. Really? Is that what they're doing? You're excited for new Intel Panther Lake, but the X version is LPDDR-X only. Yeah, computer prices are going to be stupid. I had my eyes on. Oh man! So, how you doing there, Chuck Beasley? Yeah, Microsoft 365 family. Look at the account page for your Microsoft 365, and you'll find you've got Copilot there also. Oh, that's awful. hyperscalers for artificially inflating demand. Oh, great. So I took Mrs. C Sharp Fritz out to the local Best Buy to go buy a new laptop as one of the Christmas presents that I gave her. And she picked out this nice Lenovo Yoga, and I saw it was, oh my goodness. Hey, C Sharp Josh, in New York City. I will be in New York City next week. I will be in New York City next week for the AI tour. Wednesday only, but I will be there all day at the Microsoft AI tour. Hang on, let me bring up this. 1 second, I'm going to bring up this device. Yeah, here it is. I saw this, and I absolutely jaw hit the floor, because I'm a gadget guy. Love the gadgets and things. And now see there, they dropped the price again. I saw this Lenovo dual screen laptop, and now you're gonna no, you're not gonna see that. Look at that. Dual screens, opens in the middle, and you can put the keyboard on it. Right, fold it over like Lenovo's been trying to do for a while and make that a thing. But put the keyboard on it, and you still have a little touchscreen thing in there. It's like, man, that's really cool. And also, you have the touchscreen keyboard that you can use as well. And I was like, that is a phenomenal piece of kit. I don't even know about the performance. I don't care about the performance. Having that much screen real estate, visible and access to use, that's really cool. I don't hate it. How many apps take advantage of those things? Not just that, but it's the dual screen. So I'm like, there's a thing here. Now, these are already manufactured and out there, so the price of these going up, not going to happen. But 16 gig of RAM, terabyte of drive space, like, and Asus makes one of these as well. Like, oh, where's the backslash key? What? I didn't even look at the keyboard. Yeah, it's right there, backslash, right there. There, see that? Hey, Pixel Pete, how you doing there? It is a little crazy. Not gonna lie. That's some. I think that is a mighty fine piece of kit. Something be hard to adapt your behavior to. I thought that about the Digma keyboard, and I've gotten so used to it now. So, Fritz and Devs, please give you professional opinion when using DI container in .NET. Do I need to guard constructor injected dependencies against null? Yes, you do. Yes, you do, because something might not be registered or something might new up that object from somewhere else. It's a good idea to do that null check. You miss your Surface Book 2. With the separated with the separated screen, that was a really cool device. They couldn't get it right with the heat in the screen half, the heat management in the screen half of the device. Yeah, and they pivoted to the Surface laptop with the touch screen.
You value your runtime, yet you squander it with sloppy logic.
No, I don't. I do not. No. It was game changing, really, but balancing where the hardware is and where the heat management was something they just couldn't solve with that. You have a Surface Book 2 sitting next to you in a cabinet drawer. Mine's on a shelf in the closet. Love that device.
I detect that Jenny Von Esch approaches coding like a tabletop RPG,
She's
hoping for lucky rolls rather than understanding the underlying mechanics.
She's not here.
Critical failure.
No.
Detected.
No. You get to teach a business team about data architecture in 30 minutes. Ooh, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. Good luck. good luck with that. The map is running. A couple folks have shared their location, and we'll let it do a quick tour. Why can't we duplicate all the data? Well, you can, to a point. So, folks that have shared their location in chat have said hello from, and there we go. We see a couple more popping up. And back out. So there we go. Austin. And there's Pittsburgh lit up. I had just scrolled so it didn't move. Smirking Squiggly in the Netherlands. Surly Dev in Lancashire. Amatra. There you go. So. Why didn't it pick up Lancashire? Should have picked that up. But, right, you can duplicate data to a point. There we go. Phoenix. And the challenge with duplicating data, of course, is you need to maintain those duplicates. Right? That's part of the there we go. Surly Dev. Right? That's part of the need for things like normalization, data normalization, and encouraging folks to do third normal form. Did it properly plot? There we go, the Netherlands. There's clearly more I need to do here to tweak and tune how it queues up the tour as multiple people share their locations back to back like that. So we could work on this today. It's not something that I have the source available for, so I'm not sure it's something that we want to work on. I do want to show you some of the updates I did for the Blazor web forms components. So, and I want to talk more about Tamil, our tab markup language. And we should talk a little bit about CodeMedic and decide where we want to go with these three, what we want to prioritize, what we want to work on. But I'm trying to give a little bit of time here so we get some more folks visiting. Their scenario is simply Power BI reporting on trends from tool sources. Yeah, don't copy data then. The Power BI folks, you can do all the relational mapping there. Don't copy data. They won't know how to maintain the copies of data, and then that's going to become another nightmare. There we go, Glasgow. Patty Boy chimed in with that just before I had Charlie started this morning. An RTX 4090 with 128 gig. Context. What's going on there? I've got my Gunner Echo glasses I'm going to be wearing today. Really enjoying these. Big thanks to everybody that bought a pair of Gunner glasses here in the month of December. Fantastic stuff. Really cool to see folks getting Gunner glasses, giving them for the holidays. I might have been on a few Gunner commercials on social media. Just a few. They've asked me to record another one, and I'm trying to get details of it because they were kind of scarce in the email they sent me. We will be doing some more Gunner streams in the future. Not today, but we will be doing more with them. I have some content that we're going to be doing with RAG, right? We're going to be doing some resource augmented generation with AI data. That's going to be fun to see evolve. We're going to be doing that with our friends from Progress Software. There's a handful of things coming up that we're going to get into. So, yeah, that 4090 stores more data before it catches fire. 128 gig on a video card. It is kind of crazy in my mind. Like, most folks are good with 16 gig of RAM on their machine. You start getting up there on, like, this machine that I'm running has 64 gig. Now, kind of important that I have 64 gig live streaming like this. I've got how much video coming and going. We're going to be running the compiler and doing code editing and whatnot. Plus, I've got browsers that are maintaining and doing all the connections for video production. So 64 gig on this production machine that I'm using is phenomenal. Really nice to use, and I'm happy with that. So, let me show you. Let's get in and talk about some of our projects, some of our historical projects here. We don't need to talk about that one. That was a pull request that was sent a long time ago that I finally merged. One of the big topics that have come up at work that folks are finally recognizing and realizing and wanting to get involved with is modernizing existing applications. Going from the old .NET framework 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, and getting into the new modern .NET Core based .NET 8, 9, and 10. Those are the 3 supported versions that are available for .NET right now. How do we get folks migrated
your
over
logic
there?
Is fractured,
No,
much
it's not.
like your chances of survival.
No. I'm quite fine on survival here. Thank you. So how do we get folks migrated over there? And there's a bunch of tools that have been built, and you're going to see folks from Microsoft talking more and more about modernizing and getting your applications on the latest versions of not just .NET, but other tools, frameworks that Microsoft supports. It's actually like there's several reasons to do that. Of course, we want to make sure folks are on supported versions of software, getting latest security patches, getting updates that are going to make your software faster, more efficient, and so forth. And it also means we don't have to pay to support those older versions that folks aren't really using or paying attention to anymore. So we want to help folks get modernized. We want to folks get into more of that. You left .NET development a decade ago, and even back then it was converting to core. That's when I started at Microsoft. Gamers Nexus visited factory and toured one of the Chinese repair shops that did custom 48 gig RTX 4090s. Wow. You're still talking about .NET full framework. How is this still a thing? Because there are enterprises and governments that refuse to migrate. They don't want to. You see this with all technology stacks, and you see this in enterprises. They see a project, a software project, as done, and they don't maintain it. They don't come back and provide updates. They don't tweak and tune and deploy new versions of the runtimes that their application runs on, which will make it faster. And I'm not just talking about .NET, I'm also talking about Java and JavaScript apps. You want to talk about bit rot? What's going to happen with JavaScript apps that haven't been touched or updated in 2, 3, 5, 8 years, and then they go to do an update and Angular JS isn't supported anymore. We need to migrate to Angular and it's version 24. Woo! Like, and there's nobody to support that because it's completely open source. And all the dependencies that it has on all the other things, they don't exist anymore, or they've moved somewhere else. So you got to keep your tech stack updated. More jobs for Spring Boot developers? Sure. How can we make that easier for folks? We have a tool that will do that with AI. It'll analyze your product, your software, recommend the updates, and help you apply those updates. How you doing there, Ravnos? Hello, Mythin. You feel like that will never end the migration, that is? No. They already have said that .NET full framework is not getting any new features and is only getting security patches. And they have to say security patches because it's part of Windows. So that's not going away. But not adding new features is already on the table. You see companies that don't want to move from .NET 6 to 8 because it may crash the application. Right. So that leads to another interesting part of this problem. We're going to get to this in a second. The other side of this problem is, how do you set up and migrate and do appropriate testing? And I think there's a whole suite of things in there to go and learn and test and discover and set up integration tests for the application to determine the application is working properly. I think there's a whole capability there so that you analyze, here's the current working application, and then do the migration and rerun those tests against the new application. Legacy software is always going to be a thing, right? Just like folks have classic cars from the 50s and 60s. I guess the 70s are classic cars now too, right? Like that old 1950s Corvette looks beautiful. They're doing a lot of work to maintain that. It doesn't just sit in a garage, right? The rubber in the tires will rot. The oil that's sitting in that vehicle will turn. Like, the fluids need to be maintained. Otherwise, the next time you try and drive it, might not be in the best place for you. You need a migration plan. That's a great way to put it there, Annette. Yes, you need a migration plan. You need not just a migration plan, you need to be sure that you're going to end up with the same features, capabilities that you planned and coded for. You see companies, we talked about this one. How you doing there, Final Stack? It's like any legacy software. It's left in place because of uncertainty over upgrading, migrating. And to be frank, that's another great reason to have continuous integration and continuous deployment software. Because when you do say, okay, we're going to upgrade from A to B, from version 1 to version 2, your continuous integration processes can run. And you did write good unit tests in those, didn't you? You'll know that your application still runs the same way. And you can deploy to a staging environment somewhere and verify it still runs the same way. When you start looking at and implementing automation for those integration tests, to do those smoke tests, now you're in a good place to say, yes, it does work the same way. Hey, PC Nerd, how you doing there? So, Annette, I think not just a migration plan, but I think integration tests that verify key pieces work the same way. It is a good validator for a migration plan that folks need to dial in here. Upgrading .NET over the last few versions has been incredibly smooth, says Yaz the 82. Ran into no problems, gained substantial performance improvements out of the box. And that's the big thing that the folks at Microsoft are pitching, right? You'll see the dev teams will talk about and say, there's big performance updates here. And now as we encourage folks to take a look and try out Aspire, right? And Aspire is on now version 13.1. Not only are you going to get performance, but you're going to get orchestration, you're going to get automated logging and telemetry, resilience built in to connect to all the favorite things that you're already using, but that logging and telemetry and resilience that you don't want to build, it's already baked in for you. It's already baked in. And you're going to get a cool dashboard on top of all that. Fantastic. So upgrading is the start of the story. Let's also get you in some good practices because of what we've learned and what's evolved over the last few years, right? Open telemetry is a very cool thing. Makes your data, your telemetry, your logging portable. We love that, right? You're not committed to delivering and putting your logging in one place. Oh, I can only put my logging in Prometheus. Okay. But you know what? It might be cheaper, easier to do to put it into Azure Monitor or to put it in Amazon, whatever it's called. Okay. If your data is portable, you can do that. If you're committed and you're hard-coded to that one service, you can't. So let's make it portable so you can read it on your developer machine and take it to those other places. So upgrading, fantastic to do. Plan for your migration and take a look and take advantage of some of these opinionated capabilities that are being rolled out that are going to make your job easier. If you ignore calculating maintenance cost and potential security vulnerability costs, therefore your ROI to migrate does not outweigh leaving it the same. Oh boy. Oh boy. There's always, if you have a service that's facing the internet, if you're not calculating security maintenance costs, ROI on that migration is massive. You're going to need to dial that in a big way. Hey Reese, how you doing there? Lurky. Grafana Alloy makes an easy way to collect open telemetry, transform, and then send the data somewhere. I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to take a look. Grafana Alloy. Okay. That's right, Reese. ROI is return on investment, right? How much we spend and the value that's returned to us. Loss calculations over time are hard to do for many teams. Yeah. And most folks will only look at the cost of the labor of software developers. They don't look at the cost of maintaining hardware, maintaining a cloud service, right? You aren't just going to let it sit on the same cloud service for forever. At some point, you're gonna move it to the next version of the cloud service. What's involved with that? Nope, not something special for IT. ROI is used in many business realms. When we talk about and we look at those other calculations of what you're dialing into the cost of maintaining software, just the cost of those software developers' time and benefits is just the tip of the iceberg. Don't get tricked into only looking at, well, it costs so much for labor. There are business pressures. That's right. You're not going to be able to do it right every time. And I think that's why, to Pete's point here, I think that's why you see a lot of .NET developers add extra interfaces around things and want to do more separation of concerns types of architecture. Hey there, Alu, 35
months. But when can I deploy to Visual Bicep Studio 2028 with Copilot Azure? Also happy 35 months, Fritz.
Thank
Doro
you so
High Alu
much.
Heart C# Coffee.
Those products don't exist, okay? That's not a thing. Anyways, but I think that fear of technical debt, knowing that there are business interactions that we need to stay and play within, it's my belief that that's why you see many .NET developers go a little interface crazy in separation of concerns for their architecture, because they know, okay, you only want me to use in-memory whatever right now, and we don't want to use an appliance like Redis for caching or something like that. Fine, I'm going to use just this interface, punch through that, and I'm still going to write the same code now. But when it proves out that, oh, we need more than just in-memory caching, you can easily swap in that next thing later and save time because you haven't coded yourself into a corner. So, most good projects die at portfolio budget cutting board. So here's the thing. When you start to dial in Copilot or Claude or Gemini, whatever AI tool you're using, the amount of coding that you're able to get done, because the project budget that they're looking at isn't, oh, we don't want to pay for these features. It's, we don't want to pay for a developer's time to build those extra features. Because you can get more coding done faster, those other features are now on the table. So some of those good projects might actually be up for consideration because you now have the coding performance that you need, and some of those resource constraints are bigger than they originally appeared, right? We've only got a month to get this project done. Well, you might have only been able to consider 4 large t-shirt sized user stories. Well, now you can consider 6 large t-shirt user stories and 2 or 3 medium ones and get that done and ship that in the month. Now we're talking. Okay, more things are on the table to be considered. And as a business decision, now we can start getting into other more interesting things that we couldn't even consider before. So that's why I wanted to go back and talk about the Blazor web forms components. So I was saying modernization is something that you're going to see more and more Microsoft folks talk about, and I gave various reasons why. And because Copilot can modernize and give you validation that it didn't break things, right? It can help build tools and assurances into your migration plan to get you there and verify that things still work. I believe the Blazor web form components are very relevant now, and there are folks that are very interested in that. We can talk more about that, and we'll get into that. When are we reviewing Tamil? We'll talk about that today as well. Yes. So I'm going to do a pass through on some of these, but Tamil, of course, our tab markup language. We'll talk about that. Are you able to self-host a Copilot-like model for coding similar to Copilot for GitHub? Yes, you can host a model for it, and you can tell GitHub Copilot to use your model. You can bring your own model. You aren't going to get the same performance that you get from GitHub Copilot. You just aren't. You don't have the same horsepower that GitHub does. That might be okay if you're delegating something to an AI agent that's going to go off and do work on its own in the background while you're in a meeting, overnight while you're asleep, and the AI agent is grinding away and taking longer than GitHub Copilot does, but grinding away and getting stuff done. So your group does a lot of throwaway code to try and keep your tech debt down. We know most of what we write will not be used when we decide to modernize the stack. Our best example was going from MVC to Blazor. Yes. I don't know the power you possess, Alo. So there's a lot that we can consider, and I that's one of the reasons I want to dial back in here and show you some of the modernizing that I've been doing with web forms components. And then we'll go talk about CodeMedic a little bit, and we'll talk about Tamil. And there's a couple of pull requests for Tamil out there we need to talk about, we need to look at. And I think there's folks that are going to be getting interested in CodeMedic as well. Lots of projects going, a lot to talk about. Let's dive in and talk about these. I did this is, yeah, no, I didn't merge that one. Is the pull request still sitting on here? One second, let's see. This one, and yeah, there it is. Yeah, I'm going to create this pull request. And we'll talk about it. Yeah, bring that up. Go over there. Update to .NET 10. And go ahead, take a look at that. Configure for Copilot. Yeah, sure. Sounds good. So I did a bunch of work here to get this ready
Morale patch
for
hat
.NET 10.
confirmed.
Yeah, it is. So the beatings will continue until morale improves. I updated all of the tests for this project. Let me go back and explain what this project is. One of the big things that people have a problem with when they talk about migrating from older .NET projects to current .NET is they have ASP.NET Web Forms projects. There's a lot to be said in those projects. And as part of that, the user interface for web forms isn't supported anymore. So building, declaring your components, your interactions is hard to use because these controls don't exist anymore. This project takes all of those old controls and makes them Blazor components so that you can do almost a direct UI conversion from web forms to Blazor by just swapping a little bit of syntax. And I think that's another piece that we'll write as part of this is some sort of transformer that will take your ASPX and convert it to a .razor file. But that's for the future. What I've done is I've modernized this so that it uses .NET 10. The pull request that I have out here also provides the latest B unit test capabilities. I've loaded up Copilot instructions. I've loaded up a series of Copilot skills here so that it knows how to create documents. Here's how I want my documents formatted for this project so that the AI will use this direction to go and build and deliver that, and so on and so forth here. And you'll see the various things that we did. There's even some details here about I changed the way that migration works now. Now you can say add Blazor web forms components when you configure your new application instead of copying in JavaScript. So there's a lot that's happening as part of this pull request to make that easier for folks to do. I'm going to be doing a bunch of work on this as part of my typical day-to-day Microsoft work to try to make this a thing that we're going to use. So more on that as that evolves. Let me back up here. Final Stack had a question here. That's a really big question. If I put that on screen, it's going to be gigantic. Yeah, look at that. Why does Power BI still require data modeling when the data originates from a structured database? Data modeling makes sense when integrating multiple data sources. However, when working with a single normalized database, requiring additional modeling appears redundant. Power BI was designed with this requirement from the start, yet the modeling experience does not seem to have evolved. So first off, I don't work on the Power BI team, so I can't speak for them. I think you're onto something that if you are bringing over a couple of data sources from the same relational database that does have foreign key relationships defined, those should be automatically created for you. That feels like a thing, yes. I thought some of that was being done already. Giving the flexibility to add additional modeling so that you can create derived fields, you can create calculated properties on your data model, gives a lot of flexibility in what you can do with it. I thought Power BI would automatically provide and bring over some of those relationships already. If it doesn't, that feels like a miss on that feature set. But I can't speak for that. I haven't built anything with Power BI in a little while here, so I can't. Yeah, I don't I don't have a good answer for that. When I say that Blazor is good for static sites compared to HTML, no. For static websites, HTML is the way to go. You can use Blazor to generate static sites with a cache appliance. There's still a server there that's going to grind and do some work. But if you can write just HTML, you're going to be in great shape. And coming back around full circle to the Copilot story, just ask Copilot to generate the HTML. Just ask it, here's the format for my website, generate HTML for this to add a new page, to add a new whatever, and it'll just put that into the mix. So if you have a mostly static website, just Copilot it. So thanks for the question. Would that transformer be an Autobot or a Decepticon? I think it's an Autobot because it's helping you. The transformer that's going to chew up lots more energy, all that energon, that's the Decepticon, and we're not using that. How you doing there, Reg? Good to see you. How close are we to replacing Bootstrap with Blazor UI Fluent? I didn't think that was a thing. Reese says, as a user of Power BI, I feel like it's set up to let anyone use Power BI. Yes. And that's, I think that's absolutely one of their goals, is to allow citizen developers, citizen database administrators, data workers to be able to work with that. So it does give that flexibility to allow working at multiple skill levels. You do some data engineering stuff, says Haliatus Vocifer.
Your code reminds me of one of Mr. Stark's early Iron Man suits, Fritz.
It does?
Functional in theory, catastrophic in practice.
Ouch. Ouch. Okay. Data modeling helps to get insight as unique to the business requirements, which might not come from structured database or from source before ingestion. Okay. Fabric can pull in relationships. Yeah. Fluent UI Blazor. Okay, so you're looking at using Fluent UI with Blazor instead of Bootstrap. That's not a terrible thing. Like, a lot of, and actually isn't the Aspire dashboard, I think that's Fluent UI. So, my colleague Pablo talking about Fluent UI Blazor. You're not going to show me any screenshots? Like, show me screenshots. Like, so, respectfully, a website that talks about a design system, that talks about a UI library, show some screenshots of what you're delivering here, man. Like, get me interested by showing me, here's what you can get. And put on the front page, look at how great this is. Here's what you can do. So, anyways. No, not there yet. No. So, this is one thing that I will be continuing to work on. We've also been working on CodeMatic, right? GitHub.com, that's at Fritz and Friends. CodeMatic, and this is an application, a command line tool that helps to analyze your project and provide some feedback. Sure. Go ahead, put that in. That's fine. There's a bunch of features that we had talked about and things that we wanted to do here, and this is something that I think we'll continue iterating on. I think we even got the website up and running for this, didn't we? Codemedic.net. Codemedic.net, right? No. Where did I put it? I thought I had codemedic.net. Maybe I didn't get there. Bummer. Okay. We started some user documentation over here. And we've got this set up so that it'll even run inside of a Docker container. Without installing all the .NET things, without needing to do an install, you can clone down a very small Docker container. And it will build and do the things. Yeah, that's doing its build. So this builds and delivers command line tools for Windows, Mac, and Linux. I believe also ARM64. So, Unhip Coder with the 55.
Unhip Coder just resubscribed for 55 months. 55.
Absolutely. I'm waiting for somebody to come through with a 67. See, I know what the kids are doing out there. The other project that we talked a little bit about and we got into, and that dear Lord, there were a bunch of folks talking about it, is Tamil. Tamil started as a goof. Tamil started as a joke. I need to put a description up here. Tamil is the tab annotated markup language. This, of course, started as a joke about YAML, because we all love to hate YAML.
It's illegal in 9 countries.
YAML is illegal in 9 countries. That's a little known fact. So our idea was, well, I don't like the spaces and markup that they use. We can declare and mark up everything in our markup language with tabs. Tabs and carriage returns. So we started doing that. Interesting. There's 3 contributors, me and Copilot and Copilot. GitHub friends, this looks weird. Not gonna lie, that looks weird. Anyways, so the idea is, in a quick example, it looks and feels very readable to have key value pairs, to have a complex map object here, an object name with key value pairs inside of it, to have an object with a key value and a complex object inside of that, and also to have a name with an array of content. That's right, square Copilot and round Copilot. They're 2 different Copilots. One is square, one is round. Jeez. I even recorded a video where I talked a little bit about the idea of Tamil. And man, did we have a lot of people pick up and talk about this video. Look. See? And scrolling down here, there were a bunch of folks that... Can we please not show the playlist over here? Chuck with 10 gift
Chuck
subs!
Beasley just gifted 10 subs.
Holy smokes! Thank you so much, Chuck. Wow. Aristarchus 86, Blasai, Billy Cool, Scherer, Venetrelos, Addy Atwood, Frackberg, Guacamole, Pixel Pete, and Autumn's Rain. Congratulations, you just got a subscription from our friend Chuck Beasley. Thank you so much. And that jumped us right into a hype train at level 3. Holy smokes. Look at that. Thank you so much. Can I get rid of the list here and the music that I've been listening to? Like, come on, man. Can we please just get to... No? I like... Right, there we go. I went full New Yorker. What if someone wants multi-line text? So that's something we started building. Spaces versus tabs war. So these questions were brought up and we've been working on it. Big thanks to Chuck. Man, oh man, that is phenomenal to see 10 gift subs in the channel. Yeah. And I need to start setting up to do giveaways when we get a certain number of subs and things in the channel. I do have some hats that I'll be sending out, and I do have some other things from the St. Jude fundraiser that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. That's coming soon. Haven't forgot about them. We'll be getting back into some of those, and I'll be sending out the hats probably this weekend. Now that I'm home and things aren't as crazy as they were. So we're going to be doing more work on Tamil. There's 8 pull requests out here. Dear Lord. There's a lot. I had some samples that I had some sample deserializing and serializing that I put out here for C and Rust. Haleytis Vocifer put together a conversion from Tamil to YAML, so you can start with a Tamil document and convert it so it's YAML. I updated the spec to include information about collections versus maps. And right, this is the difference between an array and an object that we have in the language. A map is a collection of unique key value pairs or unique key object pairs. So key tab value, key object pairs are unique with bare keys. Keys with no value on the same line that have children. So, minute 30 left on the hype train at level 3 already. If anybody wants to jump in there and keep the hype going, big thanks. So, keys in a map are unique. So you can't have this. You can't have name. You can't list the key name value several times. So you can do a map of values like server, host, localhost, port, 8080, SSL, true. You can do that. That is a map. You can do a map of objects. Have environments, development, debug tab true, log level tab verbose. So we have key value pairs for development. Production, that's another object inside of environments. Debug false, log level error. So tab separated again. Collections and vectors or ordered collections. Collections in ordered list of values or objects identified by either duplicate bare keys or consistent value only children. So one-dimensional. This then also gets into some interesting things when we want to do multi-dimensional collections, right? Collections of collections. That gets a little bit interesting. So we can have a collection of values, features, authentication, logging, caching. That's easy to see. Hype train is completed. Big thanks. Look at that. We got a hype chest to open. There you go. I got the epic clip emote. There it is. You can have a collection of strings from bare keys, allowed methods like get, post, put, and delete. You can have a collection of objects, right? So duplicate bare keys, that is allowed. Hey, Ceramo, good to see you. Advanced structures like a collection of maps, we saw that. Duplicate bare keys. A map containing collections. So we can do that. And then nested collections, right, is just an object with duplicated keys with single entries underneath of that. And here's the rules for detecting those various structures. This is a powerful topic here. And we went through and we talked about this, and I think it addresses both this, well, how do I do a list of lists, and what's the difference between a map and a vector. So I think we've got them both addressed, and I'm going to merge this into the spec for what I'm calling version 0.2 of the spec. So, yep, delete that branch. Goodbye. We don't need that anymore. Next pull request we'll look at. I'm going to hold off on that merge just yet. Raw text mode and syntax rules. So how do we do multiple lines? How do we put tabs inside the text values of what we're specifying and working with? So the idea that we floated was no tabs are allowed in content. However, you can use a raw text block specified by starting with an ellipsis, triple period, to preserve tabs in literal content. So when you use triple period to indicate that the following indented lines contain raw text with preserved tabs and new lines. For values that contain tabs, new lines, or other special characters, you indicate it with the triple period. So we would say key, triple period, and then the content that's all indented one tab more than will be preserved identically. So raw text lines must be indented at least one more tab. The first tab beyond the parent key level is structural indentation. Any additional tabs are preserved. So in this case, if multiple lines was tabbed in a second time, then it would be that second tab included. Hey, Macaroni Dog, how you doing? All new lines within the raw text content are preserved. Raw text mode ends when a line is encountered with indentation equal to or less than the parent key. So as soon as I bumped out after all preserved exactly, and new key here is at the same level as key, next key is at the same indentation level, then that raw text is completed. And then the raw text value is the concatenation of all raw text lines with their preserved tabs and new lines. What does TAML stand for? Tab Annotated Markup Language. And actually, there is a website for this. Oh no, I don't have it linked over here. Let's link it. taml.net. Yeah, use the GitHub Pages website. Yeah, that's right. Tabs. No. Let's just start with just tabs. Sure, include releases on the homepage. That's fine. There you go. taml.net. Bang! Tab Annotated Markup Language. There you go. And you can see more about what we've been describing for this simple markup language that we've been evolving here. So raw text mode, let's finish talking about this. Before I get into the comments on it, we'll hit those in a second. So some raw text examples, right? Single line with raw text. So hello world with a tab included. So, and each one is separated with tabs, so you'd end up with hello, tab, world, tab, with tab, tabs. Raw text with leading tabs. Yep. Multi-line raw text. So you want to put code and have that all tabbed in nicely. We got that too. A complex example where we want to have a SQL query in the middle of it. Yep. We got that handled too. HTML content. Sure. There you go. Validation rules for raw text. And I think that works out nicely. Probably should be tabs within content instead of multiple tab levels. Okay. Sure. We can do that. What else do we have here? So some other examples. We need a similar example for new lines. Maybe this should be added here or below. We need to allow only a tilde, only a pair of double quotes. Why? Okay, some good comments here from Patrick. Let's go back and look at that conversation directly. So I think this is leading towards the question of empty lines. And empty lines can be included. Only a tilde or only a pair of double quotes. Yeah. Yeah. Those are good points. This is in feature raw line, so let's go back over here. Clear this. See, there I was working on Blazor web form components. Go over to Tamil. Oh. I still have it called New Tamil. What do we have here? Yeah, just dash. Oh, okay. Well, those are all right, fine. What branches do I have here? Is that the... Oh, no. This is the same one. All right. Well, fine. Let's take a look. Take a look at the spec. So back over here. Yeah, adding an exception for new lines at about line 526. Empty lines are literal content as well. Yeah. And then let's add that as another rule after this. Right? Yeah. So, right, we're looking at something like this. Yeah. And content contains the value new line. Raw content. Yeah. I think that works. Why am I getting... Is my filter needing a little... It is. Dial that up a little bit. There we go. All right. So I think that takes care of that concern that Patrick had. So then only a tilde or only a pair of, because these are special characters because of the desire to put in a null or an empty string. So must be exactly 3 periods with no additional characters. Yeah. So I think there was a suggestion. Yeah, I'm okay with... We can do this. Mm-hmm. Tabs within content instead of multiple tab levels on 185. Let's go up there. Instead of multiple tab levels. Valid. Yeah, okay. I'm okay with that, sure. And I'll commit and push this up. Is that the file? Yeah. Updated concerns. Updated based on comments. And what's Patrick's? Zalapsky. Yeah, Zalapsky. Right, and where's the publish button? Publish. What else? Added this example. Resolve that. Resolve that. Yeah. Cool. And fantastic. Now we have raw text mode. So that's part of the version 0.2 of this. Moving on. Slightly disappointed it doesn't use the cool span feature. What cool span feature? Help me out. What has lots of string allocations? The Tamil deserializer? Quite frankly, we were just trying to get it running. Trying to get it running. We can tune, tweak, and performance optimize. Next. Totally up for that. Get it working. Make it pretty. Make it fast. So we have the conversion. We have an action CLI coming. Static C++ library. Clarify principles and actual tab characters instead of /t. Let's see what we have here. So in the spec, tabs define both structure and key-based separation New lines represent the end of a value. That's a good clarification. Okay. Minimal special characters. Yeah. Tabs, new lines, tilde, double quote have special meanings. Brackets, braces, colons, most quotation marks, and hyphens have no special meaning. We also need to include the triple period in here. These Tamil documents consistently use an actual tab character to represent the tab character as used in Tamil. It is expected that those who work with Tamil when necessary will use text editor tools, toggle render whitespace option to distinguish tab characters from spaces. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we also need to now add an entry there for the triple period. All three examples above are equivalent. Multiple tabs can be used for better visual alignment. I think that's good. You're new to coding? Okay. We're talking about a markup language that we've invented called Tamil. So, Tamil distinguishes between null and empty string. So, using the tab there, how does that look? Oh shoot, what is it to actually... There we go. See, that doesn't... Okay. All right. Open source. Yes. Yep. And, right, you can find out more and link into the GitHub all about this language right there. So I need to add another bit here into minimal special characters for the triple period notation. So, thank you for the help in clarifying some of these topics. We'll also need a comment about the triple period raw text indicator. Indicator? Indicator. Right? It's kind of fun. The learning experience of going through and defining our own language has been very educational. I'm going to set up a pull request for version 0.2. Version 0, not 9, 0.2 of Tamil spec. Because we'll want to go through and mark all of... that's fine. Go ahead, update. We'll want to go through and make sure that we update all of our coding tools so they adhere to 0.2. Okay. So there's that one. So let me go back over here. I'm going to jump over to the... Oh boy, look at all this. It's already getting ugly over here. I'm going to go to the 0.2, and I'm going to go to the spec right there. Edit this. This allows most Tamil documents to be completely free of special characters. And very human readable. There we go. Go ahead, suggest something there. Yeah, there you go. All right. Oh, and we better change the specification so it's 0.2. Right? Okay. Let's come back around. Let's take a look at some of the tools that have been added here. I don't have expertise in these two, and I just vibe coded these two, so I'm going to be looking to someone else to help out with that. Let's take a look at this first one. Conversion of Tamil to YAML that Halietis Vocifer put together. Converts from Tamil to YAML, validates Tamil documents, added CLI document parsing, 8 new converter tests, and updated documentation. So, a GitHub action to build the CLI as a native standalone AOT executable. So we have 7 files to change. This is in the .NET CLI tool that's included here. So .NET, an update to the README, and it includes a converter class that converts between Tamil, YAML, JSON, and XML formats, and a validator that validates with detailed error reporting. Interesting. Okay. So in the CLI, lots of updates. No, this is the CLI. Let's look at the README for this. Command line tool for working with Tamil files. Convert Tamil to YAML or JSON format. This way, you can write a Tamil document for a Docker file. No, for a Docker Compose file, right? And this will convert and put it in YAML format, so you don't have to deal with YAML. Validate Tamil documents and display file statistics and structure. Nice. So you can build from source with this, install as a global tool. Interesting. Okay. Makes sense. Convert from Tamil to other formats. You can say Tamil convert, and the input file is config.tamil, and that'll output as YAML. Tamil to JSON with a -f parameter and specify JSON. Save output to a file and specify the name of the output file. Nice. Validate Tamil documents. This one feels like we could infer that it's JSON format that's desired because the output is a .json. Right? We could be a little smart about that and not require a -f format parameter there. Validate and specify. I don't know if we need a -i for all of these. Because once again, you can kind of infer some of that. Verbose output with line context. Validate and output verbosely. Nice. Display file information. Size, lines, status, root keys. Okay. Global options and the command reference. Okay. That's a nice bit of documentation. Validation rules. So, right, this is very much version 0.1 of the spec. We'll want to do an update of this for version 0.2 and some of the new features so that it knows about and can handle those. That's why I'm kind of looking at this as, right, trying to make sure things kind of are separated with, here's some clarification we need, but here we're also supporting that initial. Nobody uses this anywhere yet. But let's define and drive out some of these features and get some groundwork in place. So you want to convert a configuration file. Nice. Convert to JSON for API consumption. Cool. CI/CD integration. Validate all TAML files in a directory. Nice. A pre-commit hook. Okay. .NET 10 or later. Project root license file. And then the CLI includes command line and the core project up here, which now includes a TAML converter class. Convert to YAML, TAML document parse, serializer builder, and serialize using YAML.NET. Convert to JSON. Yep. TAML document, JSON serializer options. If you want it indented, indent it, and there you go. I could see this taking JSON serializer options directly. And some tests. Always love seeing tests here. Fantastic. I'm going to assume those just work. Updates to the solution file to include those other projects. Cool. Yes, I clicked around. Get me out of here. Nope, go ahead and merge. Adding TAML CLI. Fantastic. So we've got a CLI for TAML now. We need GitHub Action to go with that. Let's make this right. Hash 33. Yeah. So that references and closes it when I close this. Let me catch up with chat. Napalm says, did you know Microsoft Testing Platform as a replacement for all VS Test MS Build shims for unit testing? Yes. There was a blog post about it last year in 2025. So yeah, that's going to dramatically help folks. Etrim says, one idea I did for deserialization process was to have a tokenizer read the string, then use the tokens to construct the data. Opened up a bunch of tech, like you can, in theory, do just-in-time reading if you want to search for a specific part of the file. That does make sense. And those types of optimizations are, in my mind, totally on board for improvements we can make to this. Yes, we've got a base that now works. Tune, optimize, and let's make it more friendly and make it easier to use as we go along here. Lundo Spark, hello!
Lundo Spark just resubscribed for 32 months. 0 by 20 months.
Yes, that's right. I love the hex references. That's right. Thank you so much for the resub. 32 months with us, closing in on 3 years. Man alive. That's so cool. You migrated all your stuff over to in CI/CD to deprecate. There you go. That's good stuff. Code with Sean
just resubscribed
hello, my
for
friend.
67 months. Like the piggy wee wee wee.
Yes. Yes. How you doing there, my friend? Good to see you. So added a action for the CLI. Let's take a look at what we have here. CI build and release on a push to any of the .NET paths that include the CLI, or this CLI build gets updated on main, or a pull request to those same paths, and a workflow dispatch so you can run this separately. You're only here for a few minutes and off to another day of meetings. We should catch up, my friend. There's some changes and updates that we should talk about. Permission to write, .NET version 10. First, let's test to make sure that everything works. Restore on the solution. Build. Yup. Yeah, I will. Absolutely. and then run the test. No build configuration. So by running this with a no build argument here, keeps the build and test steps separate. So we can see that what happened during build, what happened in test. Where when you're working locally, you'll want to have that separated. Ceramo asks, GitHub Actions work with YAML. That's right. Yep. GitHub Actions do work with YAML. So this is another way that we'll be able to update and write TAML here. Run the test, output in test results TRX, publish those test results. I love the publish test results action. It's a nice way to publish and get that stuff out there. So if that runs, we're going to build for Win64 on the Matrix. We're going to run Windows on 64-bit processors, ARM64 on Windows as well, OS X on x64, OS X on ARM, Linux on x64, and Linux on ARM. And that's a lot of... That's 6 different builds. But it's going to check out setup.net, do the restore, and then do the publish for each one of those versions. And it's passing in that runtime. Nice. So if it's Windows, it's going to create the .zip. If it's on a Unix, so if it's not Windows, create a tar gzip, and then upload those artifacts. Yes. And then when we do a release, when we create a release, grab those artifacts, download them, stamp them with a version, and create the release. Nice! Nice! Oh, that's fantastic. This is great. I really, really like this. Yes. And that can absolutely... let's just delete that. Completed GitHub action for CLI. Nice! And there we go. Very cool. Thank you so much for the work. Halietis Vosifer. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I think I'm pretty close on the pronunciation, but I also think there's something in there I'm stumbling on. Thank you so much, my friend. That is great stuff to see get added into the mix here. And you see there, it's out there. Describe a coding task to work on? No, I don't want agents. I want actions. There we go. And there it is doing the build. So it's running the test now, right? We should be able to see that. Finish the test, complete it, and we should see it pick up in the matrix here and run for these different configurations. That's so cool. So cool. There we go. Right, and there's the test. 188 tests. Wow. So we'll be able to see that go through. Etram says, TAML looks a lot easier to build, parsing for than YAML. You did JSON, XML-ish, and binary, but then I read the YAML docs and cried a bit. I agree. You work with Unity, all their files are in YAML. Yeah. It sucks to write. I am so sorry. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like the idea here. So then that kind of leads to an interesting question, Etram, of is there something we can inspect, test, bring into the mix as a test to say, here's how TAML is going to support Unity? I don't know. M. Pulowski, how you doing there in Marysville, Washington? Hello. The map is running. There it is. Zoomed in on Washington over there. Got a couple folks in Colorado. I'll run the tour. It's funny, it says one location queued, but there we go. Take the quick tour around the world so we can see some of the locations folks shared. Mallorca? Yep. We had a YouTube viewer chime in from Mallorca earlier. And Phoenix, of course. Western Europe, 4 other viewers in Western Europe, mostly in the UK there. Lundo Spark going to add into the mix. So Austin, Texas, there we go. And Timbuktu. Chuck likes to mark that he's viewing from Timbuktu. I don't think Chuck's actually in Timbuktu. Eastern North America, we got a couple folks. Yes, absolutely. That was great stuff that you submitted. So there we go. The map is doing its thing. And Lundo Spark, I believe you popped in Northwest England. There you go, right there. So, yeah, we'll take a look. We got to talk that through. It looks like we've got an issue though here with the build on Mac OS, and it stopped. No such file or directory. Looks like it was during the chmod there. The chmod? Chmod? Is that how folks pronounce that? I've always said chmod or change mod. And I think these other ones stopped because, yeah, they were canceled because of the other one. Like, one of these didn't work, so. And then, yeah, trimming and deserializing. We might have some issues in there. Yeah. You say chmod? You don't say anything. How you doing, Pyra Cat? But you read chmod as chmod. Of course, I guess if English isn't your first language, if maybe you speak, like, German would say chmod, right? I'm not sure. I'm going to open an issue here that the action doesn't build properly, and Heliatus Vocifer, I'll pass that back to you. So I'm going to mark this as it should have marked this as completed. Yeah, right there. Error while building the CLI with .NET. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Go here. Actually, it's right there. See the failed action at. There we go. And let's label that as it's a bug because it doesn't build. And yeah, it won't let me assign Heliatus Vocifer. Okay. Cool. I need to end in about 50 minutes here. So simple arrays not specified. So yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Not this one. Back over here. Do right here. Yeah, this one. In the spec, they're called lists. I think you've already got these covered, though. Right? Yeah. So we'll see how Mads does with that. I need to reach out and talk to him some more. So next week I'm in New York City on Wednesday for the AI tour. 2 weeks after that, I'm in Stockholm for Svetug. I may pop up in 1 or 2 more European cities for the AI tour. Specifically, I'm working on trying to get a visit to London. Yep, Stockholm, Sweden. That's right. I'll be at Svetug in Stockholm. There we go. So this is an event for developers, training event that you can go and check out, and there are a ton of really good speakers for this event. The folks from all over Europe, folks coming in from the States, folks coming in from Canada. Richard's Canadian, of course. So definitely going to be a good time. I look forward to seeing folks at this event in Stockholm. I will also be at VS Live in Las Vegas. Right there. There we go. At Planet Hollywood Casino, I will be at this event. I'll be teaching a couple classes on Aspire at this. And I believe I can also share, I will be at Codestock. I'll be at Codestock talking about Aspire. I don't think, they don't have speaker lists up here yet. But I will be at Codestock in Knoxville, Tennessee. There's more coming. There's a lot more coming to my travel schedule, and I'm going to be making it a thing that I can stream while I'm on the road. So, yep, go hug me. Absolutely, you can absolutely do that, Pyrocat. I just ask that you say hello and introduce yourself first, so that I know what I'm getting into. Yeah. What? So, sadly, the event is a bit outside your price range. Oh, shoot. Over here. Look. I'm just gonna say. Yep. There it is. The Vegas event, I definitely understand being out of folks' price range. Yep. So 500 kroner to get in. Oh, 5,500 kroner. How much is that in US dollars? So for a it's a 2-day training event. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Because when you look at VS Live, which is at a Las Vegas casino, price for this is a little bit more. So there are other free events that I do go to and speak at and help with, and of course you can find me online all the time. But when you haven't worked in the past year, oof, okay, I get it. All right, so that needs a little bit there, this, and over here. Let's see. Spec leaves ambiguity. I think we've got this addressed now. So, the journey is what we're looking for on this. We're not looking to take over the world. So where was it? Tamil command line tool. I think we've got this one we can close now. Yeah. Because we have our command line tool. Patty Boy was working on a logo. And we had some ideas here for some images. And I think that's a great way to do it. And that is also the idea of having a tab key that is the Tamil logo. I think that's kind of fun. So now, Eitram, while I might be speaking at the event, of course, I'll be in Stockholm after hours at the event and at a local watering hole somewhere, meeting, hanging out with folks. So that's absolutely going to be a thing. And happy to meet folks there. But once again, please introduce yourself before you run up and hug. Let's see. Was it Munich? Munich is also a possible on my schedule. And it's been a while since I've been to Germany. I haven't been to Germany since 2019, I want to say. I keynoted Developer Week in Germany in 2019. So, no. So this one's a little bit too much, but I do like those other tab keys. And then we also had the idea of the Tamil banana leaf as the icon. Where did that go? I don't see it. Oh, I'm gonna let's mark this as closed. Yeah. Pinging here with an update to the spec in 35. Does this address your concerns? And then I'll close it. If there's no response to that over the next week, close it. Table syntax. So we talked about logo. There was a mascot consideration over here, and this is the Tamil banana leaf. And I think that's a fun idea. And yeah, there it is. So I think we can take this and include this in kind of an assets images directory. What do you think, chat? And start rolling some of these updates in as well, so that we have an icon, we have a logo, and we have an icon. So no further comment on that. So I'm going to let's do this. Let's copy this image. Let's open paint.net because we like paint.net. Do you use the paint.net? Everybody should love the paint.net, let me tell you. Crop the selection and see there's we need just a little bit of help on this. Need to put a little bit more space on the one side, you know what I mean? Let's see if we can where is it? Image, canvas size. See the width. I'd really like that to be square. You know? And that looks like it's maybe 2 pixels over here. Right? How many pixels is that? Right there. 6 pixels. All right, so we need to go 6 more and need to push it over on the other side. So let's do canvas size, Yeah, so we're going to extend over that way, and we're going to go 6 more pixels wide. So that's going to be 267. Fill it with white. There we go. So now it's centered side to side. Hot tamales, and they're very hot. Oh, really? So now I'm going to resize the canvas again and make it square. So we'll do canvas size again. And I'm going to put it in the middle, and I'm going to make the width 323. There we go. So now it's centered. I think that does what we want. And when we zoom out, right, come here, you're going to put that in the middle. That's not bad. Left side's a little jank. Oh, there's a doodad right there. We can get rid of that. Right? Well, that didn't work. Where is it? Show me my color palette. Flip-flop that, John. That's better. What do we think? Yeah, that top left up there, and there's a little bit there. I'm going to... Yeah, let's do a... Save that. And we're going to put this into the Tamil folder. I think we merged this, didn't we? I think we did. Right. Let's create an image folder. And I'm going to put this in that image folder, and I'm going to call this icon. There it is. No. Look at that dithering. No. Better. 9.8K. Did it? Okay, it's a PNG. That's fine. Right. So if I go back over here into this one, and now here, I thought I just saved in there. No, I saved here. And then let's call this icon SVG. And we can take this. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna, yes. All right, so how's that look? I think we're gonna need to work on that. Not bad. Not bad. I'll take it. Let's take this back over here, put you in the mix, and I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. And this is 21. Added icon suggested by Miguel in 21. And publish that. And yeah, I pushed that directly. I did. Boom. Right there. There we go. All right. I'm happy to take any tidy up suggestions on either of these. Yeah, that could use some help centering. But that's okay. Right? That's why it's a community project. Patty Boy, I want to take your icon in here as well and then enhance the README a little bit with some of the new images. So Patty Boy had... Where'd it go? Yeah, logo down there. So this is 20. So I'm going to grab these two, and I'm going to put them in the Tamil folder. Oh, I love how small those files are. Oh, that's great. And let's do another... What? The web form components, we're not working on them right now. This one. So I called them logo illustration and just logo. Added logos proposed by, and that's in 20. Publish that one. Yep, there we go. All right. So now let's update the README. And Copilot, be smart for a second. Can you try? Yeah, move that into the editor area. Give me the README. Yeah. Add the logo to an appropriate place in the README. Yeah, just go do that. And then we'll come around and we'll do it to the website also. So, and yes, I am using Claude Opus on that. Like, can I swing the sledgehammer even any harder at this? Like, I should have just used Claude Sonnet. In fact, I'm just going to flip over to Sonnet 4.5. Because I'm just destroying my premium requests right now. Just burning through them all. You've added the Tamil logo? Well, show me what it looks like there. That's where I would have thought to put it, but it's so big. It's giant. It is pricey. Opus is pricey, and it's very good. Like, that's giant. Can we knock that down a little bit? It's a little bit better. Yeah, let's push that. Give me the README again. Suggest somewhere in the README that we can add a reference to the Tamil icon and show it. Right? Just... Yeah, very pricey. So... now, I'm supposed to have unlimited premium requests because I kind of work for the company. So this is a funny number to me, you know? Added under the VS Code extension description to show what the icon looks like in the editor. New assets resources section. Let's hold off until we actually get it into the VS Code extension. And then, like, actually show it in use in VS Code. But yeah, I'd like the icon in use in VS Code with a screenshot from VS Code. So not yet. Let's add the assets and branding section with the logo and icon. The logos and icon from the IMG folder. Go do that. Even though I could have written it myself, like, go make this look nice. Before the license section, yes, that's a good idea. Right. So it's way down here near the bottom. Hey, there it is. There we go. Not bad, I'll take it, and we'll push that. This one... Yeah. And then we'll need to update the website with some of that stuff. There we go. All right. Good. Getting there. We need to do some work on this. What other issues are over here that we should address? So Mads has already gone to town working on that. I didn't... Empty is not spelled right there. We think there definitely is a reason that we can be ambiguous when serializing an empty collection or an empty map. The only concerns that we run into with an empty collection or an empty map or are when we are deserializing and we don't have a structure we're deserializing into. Otherwise, we know exactly the type that we're destined to populate with no entries. Yeah. So... keys with no values are also values that are in a list. Should it be an empty collection or a string? Right. It would be a string. Because you don't have a collection. So. What else? There was a proposed syntax for tables. Let's look at this. Nulls and empty strings seem unnecessary. And Stephen liked that, so I'm going to close this. Closed with no further discussion. Willing to reopen if there is more to cover. Okay. Dates. Andrew was looking at another library using to serialize the idea of tables. Oh, this is addressed now because we brought this in. Yeah. Fixed with 37 in V0.2 of spec. Cool. So we're learning a lot about finding those edge cases when defining a markup language. And these are some of the things that the folks that were working on YAML ran into, right? Like, they wanted all spaces, all uber readable, and they started adding notation so they could indicate this is a map, this is an array, and so on and so forth, right? It's interesting to me that folks get a little bit choosy around object, array, vector, list, collection. That terminology gets a little dicey with some folks. I get it. I do. Let's see. There's where'd it go? Here. You made a tiny miscalculation in the code quality? Really? Jeez. Use something till it doesn't fit the bill. Totally. Totally. You only use SIMD vectorizable types in your markup languages so you can take advantage of performance metrics that don't exist in that space yet. Well, yeah. Well, yes. All right. We will close this in a week. And I want to put a label. Let's create a label. Scheduled to close. Right. Something like this. Give me a... Sure. This issue is scheduled to be closed if there is no further, right? No further discussion. Cool. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm going to put another on this. Scheduled to close. So let's talk about this table syntax that Lundo Spark proposed. Does it make sense to have a table? So I don't think this is something like what. How would a table like this be presented as an object? These are clearly fields, and these are records that adhere to those fields. In my mind, this adheres more like it. Hey, Fuel Snable. In Lua, it's all tables. Yeah, I'm not sold. I'm not saying no, but I'm not convinced. I didn't click on Visual Studio. I wanted how to support dates. And suggestion from Deepex was let's use ISO 8601. So we end up with year, month, day separated by dashes, time, hours, month, minutes, seconds, and then the moment like that. It's a clear standard that if something is in that format, we can recognize it as a date. This is a 24-hour indicator here. Let's enhance the spec with this. Right, and there's even handling with time zone there. So let's set that up. Let's add that into the spec. What do we got here? An update? Well, we'll look at that in a minute. Let's create a new branch. Oh, wait a sec. I'm gonna go over to the 02. This one. I don't want to commit and sync. I want to pull. There we go. And then let's create a branch off of that. And feature date support. That's just called featured date. Right? And I think there was... Do we start including not just date then, but types? And add a typing system. I think it's time to do that. Move over here. Let's see if we can get this documented nicely. Let's go. I want to introduce a typing system for TAML. Period. It should be very simple in that if a number or something that looks like a number is presented, it should be recognized as either a decimal or a whole number appropriately. Period. I think we also want to be able to support truthy values as the Boolean true value and falsy values as the Boolean value false. Period. We should support the ISO 8601 format for dates. Do you need to support these types, or do we just work with strings and have the consumers deal with the types? So the consumers can recognize these types. Right? The markup, it's not going to behave any differently because these types are in there. But the serializer will stick to these formats. For Tamil, serialization and deserialization. Serialization. Yeah. Update the spec with this new recommendation. Does the serializer deserializer need to know about these formats, or whether that just works with strings when the user defines the meaning further up? Well, they're all going to look like strings, right? There's no markup to specifically push it into that format. Jean Valjean
just resubscribed for 74 months. Hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much. That's Coder 24601 to you. 74 months. 6 years and 2 months. Thank you so much, my friend. That is a lot of support. I really appreciate that. This is strictly a recommendation for the serializer. If you serialize and you're going to grab formats and persist formats, grab types and persist types, this is the format that we require you to use, so that we don't have interpretation of dates and things in other formats. And right, so if you write a date as oh, and I did that with Opus again. If you write a date as right, today is in American date format 1/15/2026, that's not clear. That would be interpreted as a string. But if you wrote it as 2026/01/15, that would be interpreted as a date. The serializer could pick that up and show that as a date. Right? Put that into a date type. Tamil specification now includes comprehensive typing system that covers type detection order, clear priority order for how parsers should interpret values, truthy, true, yes, on, one, and falsy patterns with case-insensitive detection. I don't think 0 and 1 should be included in there. Number values, both integers and decimals with proper format rules, including scientific notation. Comprehensive support for calendar dates, times, combined times with a T separator, UTC indicator, time zone offsets, week dates, ordinal dates, durations, time intervals, type conversion summary table, and parser options. Let's go take a look at the enhancements. Oh my gosh. All values are stored as strings in the document format. However, parsers should perform automatic type detection and conversion during deserialization, and serializers should convert native types back to their canonical string representations, right? So that we're guaranteed a shared format that everybody can read and accept. Ads are running right now on Twitch for the next 2 minutes. No ads on YouTube. All right. Type detection order: null, empty string, raw text, Boolean, truthy and falsy value patterns, date time, ISO 8601, number, integers and decimal, and any other text value with no quotes needed is a string. Null values, empty string values, Boolean. I don't like 1 on this and 0. Because you may want to put 1 and 0 and not have it detected as Boolean. So I'm going to yank those. Even though it's... no. Yank it. When serializing Boolean values, implementations should use the canonical lowercase forms. Yes. That's... yeah, okay. I'm okay with that then. No, roll that back. That's fine. Tamil automatically detects number values during parsing. Numbers are recognized by their format without any special syntax. Optional leading positive negative, 1 or more digits, no decimal point, no leading zeros. Decimal numbers, optional scientific notation. These are strings, not numbers. Leading zeros are not allowed. Yeah, that would be a string. Multiple decimal points. Yup. No digits after decimal. No digits before decimal. Commas not supported. Currency symbols not supported. These would be strings. Which makes sense because you're showing a string representation. I'm okay with that. These two get me. Come here. You go over here. No, I want you over there. Close this. Talk to me a little bit about the trailing dot and leading dot categories for numbers being detected as strings. Period. I feel like this is something that could be a little bit more flexible in the definition. Let's see what that has. Oh, it didn't play the voice for that. Really? Let's try that again. It still didn't read it. Given Tamil's simplicity philosophy, I'd lean towards allowing both formats as optional lenient behavior. Yeah. Yes. Let's allow both formats. And add a recommended regex to the number section to indicate how we could detect numbers. That's nice. Jeff Bezos really wants you to buy an Oral-B toothbrush? Hey, I have Oral-B toothbrushes. I have the motorized ones too.
Your variables are screaming for structure. Shall I silence them?
Yes. Please. There we go. Let's see. how it updates these.
I've just picked up a fault in the AE35 unit.
Have you?
It's going to go 100% failure in 72 hours.
Oh boy. So recommended number detection regex. There we go. And then the pattern explanation. Nice. That's nice. I do have a 3D printer now, Juan Van. Yes. And I've been learning and printing. I started printing I finished finally printing all the parts for the enclosure for my 3D printer, and I started mounting all of them last night. I've got more work to do. It was just taking too long last night for me to get through. But we'll get there. So date and time values now. Let's take a look a little bit at that. So that all. I'm not sure about week dates. The ISO detection rules, and then the complete date and time example. Yeah, that's nice. Cool. Examples with options. Type conversion true, strict types false. That's closing in on the end of our time together here. I like that. Treat all values as strings. No, I don't want additional date formats. Perform strict type validation and reject ambiguous values. Yeah. Okay. Let's add that. Give me a commit message. Picked up a P2S for Christmas. Oh. So mine's a FlashForge AD5X. Give me a second here. So this is 32. Let's create a pull request. What are you doing, GitHub? Right. Yeah, there we go. No, not on main. We're going to put this into 02. Yeah, let's just do with type detection. And provides support for numeric types, Boolean types, date types, right? Something's going on GitHub that things are taking a little bit. So I'll leave that out there to review, and we'll come back next time to work on it. Yeah, something's grinding away on GitHub right now. I do need to wrap up. So let's head back over here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a little bit since I've been here, and I really appreciate you tuning in, joining me for today's stream. I'm, like I mentioned a little bit ago, I'm going to be doing some work during the day on our Blazor web forms components. If you've been wondering what happened to that, I'm going to be grinding away and improving that, and we'll see how that might fit into a GitHub Copilot modernization tool to enhance and make that easier for folks to use and work with. I think there's a lot of options and possibilities there. All right. Tamil continues to evolve. We've got to do some updates to the website. In fact, let me create an issue to go with the 0.2 release. Need to update website. With info from 0.2 spec. Yeah. And I'll leave that out there in case anybody wants to work on that. So Tamil's evolving. Blazor web forms components. We'll get back into Code Medic probably next week. So there's projects moving. I even had somebody reach back and talk to me about instant APIs. There might be an opportunity to do some more with instant APIs. Our friend Carl Franklin and I are building a little tool to help you with database interactions. You may have seen us talk about that on Code It with AI this week. That's something that we're growing together and we'll be publishing for folks to be able to use. So lots of projects moving. Core Wiki, no, Core Wiki's done. I should archive that. So that I don't think we're going back to. So SharpSite definitely we'll get back into. There were some really cool things we were doing with plugin system on that. We will absolutely get back into. And I'm going to be doing a book reading here on stream probably in the next 2 weeks. I'll lock down on what exactly I'm reading this weekend, and we'll schedule that at some point before the end of the month. We're going to set up for a workshop teaching all about Blazor, ASP.NET, and Aspire. That'll be coming, I want to say middle February at this point, because I'm getting ready to head out for Sveitog the first week of February. So lots happening, lots moving. Join the Discord. I'll keep you up to date. I'll drop some items in there about scheduled things that are coming along, and we'll have a good time talking about that. I may even have some office hours that I'll hang out and answer questions, and we can talk and have a good time, maybe even play games together. You know how much I like Overwatch. So, all right. Let me see who else is streaming on the big Twitch TV network. Who can I get you connected to that might be doing something cool, something fun? Taking a look around the horn. Yeah, thank you, Lorsair. You know what? Let me go let's join the Visual Studio channel. They're building a Space Invaders clone from zero to prod. That sounds really cool. So let's go join our friends on the Visual Studio team. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got lots of great videos available for you down here and over there, depending on which YouTube app you're using. All right? Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back on Tuesday next week for more live coding, more fun. But in the meantime, join us on the Discord, and we'll have a great time over there talking about things that are going on, answering your questions, and helping you out. All right? Have a fantastic rest of your day, wherever you might be. I wish you good health and good coding. Take care.